Celebrity Book Club.
Chip, we're already late for church. I'm so stressed out.
I know, but don't worry, little Pop-Tart. God always has a way of opening a door and then opening a window for us.
Oh my God, stop. Stop right now. Stop right now. You just see the antique store.
Oh, okay, little lady. All right, let me just pull over. I know we're late for church, but hey, if you see a sign, then that's a sign from God that I better stop. All right, I'm just pulling over in our big, beautiful American-made SUV.
Oh my God, it's a vintage rickety sleigh. Chip, do you have any cash on you? I'm buying it. I want to dress it up. I'm going to paint it white. And then I think I'm going to add bells to it. And it can actually be a door knocker. It's a sleigh door knocker.
You know what? I always carry $3,000 in cash on me. I'm happy to pull that out for you. Anything else you might want, my little squawk box?
Oh, look. It's a vintage axe. I think was used by the Confederate Army. This would look so cute in my sister's husband's man cave shed.
Oh, you're thinking that could be maybe door handles on
yes.
the entertainment unit.
God gave you to me.
Now, little Jojo, what do you think about this cannon from the Spanish-American War? It looks to be in full operational
Chip.
capacity.
God, you have the darndest, craziest ideas in this gosh darn world that God built.
That's me. I just love getting together with my college friends and shooting hoops and making bets and playing cards and not drinking too much.
Let's get the cannon and let's get to church, okay? Because I have some goats to pick up later.
Hot diggity dog.
Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill. It's Hollywood. It's books. It's gossip. I'm shook. It's memoir. It's martinis. It's Studio 54. It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend!
So good to see you.
It's so good to reunite with good old friends over a cool glass of sweet tea.
Or in my case, a nice 0-calorie can of Diet Coke.
This is the first time I think I've ever seen you drink Diet Coke. You're a big Coke Zero head.
I'm not really a big Zero or Diet
Well, your family, I guess, was Zero.
My mom goes on a weird tip where she'll buy Fresca for 6 years and then buy Coke Zero for another 6 years. She's really trapped in 1989 and her understanding of diet beverages.
Coke Zero to me is very millennia.
It's fine. I mean, what I need is sharpness. Okay. I want my mouth to be at war with bubbles.
Well, and I think that first sip feeling.
Yeah,
to
hashtag that first sip
to
feeling.
quote the can, it really gives you that. But people are crazy about Diet Coke. I recently was on a vacation, Fire Island, with 4 amazing queer couples. And everyone was addicted to Diet Coke. And I'm just kind of starting out, but I feel like I mentioned it. People are like, yes, and just pounding them. And people are so, welcome to the club.
I do believe that it is poison, and I believe that it is bad. I think sugar-free Red Bull is also disgusting.
I think Red Bull is disgusting.
But if you have to get it, I will go for if it's 2 a.m. and you're going to a third location and you need that Red Bull, I will go for the full sugar because something creeps me out about something that tastes sweet and doesn't have sugar in it.
Yeah, I guess I'm just so creeped out by Red Bull in general. I'd rather, this is crazy, go home and have FOMO than drink a Red Bull for that next location.
Wow, drawing the line.
Red Bull or go home. I guess I wanted to bring up kind of a conversations about caffeine because, as you know, I'm on a high rolling from my insanely viral tweet about coffee.
Oh, my God. Congratulations. I saw that and I was like, wow. She finally did it.
What was it? Landed on, I think, 150K?
It was at 150K last time I checked because that is real viral. That's not
real.
your 35K, your
10K.
One of your friend viral or New York viral. That is viral.
That's
to
viral.
The boots.
Absolutely viral boots. I commented kind of on mobile ordering culture.
Yeah, no, I mean,
with a stunning photo that I think could be featured literally in Time magazine.
The photo was completely insane. It was an array of like what looked like to be 30 different drinks at a Starbucks, like waiting to be picked up. It was psycho. I mean, that's why it went viral. Can I ask where this obscene Starbucks was?
Southampton, New York.
Oh.
So every single person was mobile ordering.
Wait, that is so crazy to me. So it's all these Ramonas who are just like, they're doing it on their iPads at home before they leave?
Yes, or in the car.
They're in the car, and their car is a phone. They're driving their Tesla, and everything is a screen.
And they're being like pink refresher, shaken almond milk espresso. And everyone's ordering on their Tesla. And obviously they're getting there. And it's like all the drinks are actually like have been ordered 2 hours ago, and they're still waiting an hour for their drink.
So melted.
No, that was
and
the
you're
thing.
In this line of Teslas waiting for them to hand you your 3 hours melted rainbow unicorn refresher.
And then obviously I went in and I ordered my coffee like a normal, awesome human being, and I got it like in a second.
Hashtag team normal for the win.
Yeah. Speaking of Ramona, I went to her favorite restaurant, and we'll be getting into that
in
VIP lounge. But first, book.
Yeah. I know you really want restaurant reviews, and honey, we've got several for you this week.
We're giving them to you, okay? Ramona's favorite restaurant, La Parmigiana. Stephen went to Asian restaurants.
I went to 3 different Asian restaurants, including hot new Philip Hinks hotspot Gugu Room.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I went to tons of furniture outlets.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I've been working on saying furniture.
Furniture.
Instead of
furniture, yeah.
Which is how I usually say it.
How you were brought up to speak it.
Speaking of furniture.
Speaking of furniture and friends and furniture.
Freaking. So actually
Please
awesomely.
watch your mouth.
I'm going to watch my mouth.
God.
Yeah. I'm so excited to do this book. One, because it's been sitting in the back of my Honda Fit for a while. And because I love them. I'm turned on by one of them.
Yeah, you are.
And they've captured our hearts, and they've certainly captured our homes.
And some of our wallets.
Okay.
Of course, we're talking about none other than
Chip and Joanna Gaines and their book,
The Magnolia Story.
How It All Happened. And I know this isn't in the title, but 20% off at Target.
With Mark D'Agostino, it is a with. Let us praise
name him
and celebrate our
he's
ghost
a
writers.
celebrated People magazine writer and
Is he?
New York Times.
Oh,
yeah,
is he so like East Coast editor at large, Mark D'Agostino?
Right, Mark D'Agostino. We're at the home of Mark D'Agostino. So I'm a huge fixer-upper fan.
So I have to say, I'm obsessed with home design and renovation shows. Fixer-upper, I've just like never really gotten into. I'm more like watching House Hunters Renovation or House Hunters International Renovation. I'm very familiar with those programs, but I had never seen because to me, they're almost like the mothership in a way of home reno shows. It's
somewhat you were scared.
Yeah.
To go to the mothership.
Well, also, you know that I'm a contrarian. And so it's like, I want to find my own little corner of the home reno world.
Right, you're like, oh no, I like the twins from Seattle or whatever.
Right.
But the thing about Chip and Joanna, I mean, it's hard to escape things they invented. Let's just list them off.
Yeah, well, yeah. So what they're known for is
shiplap, barn doors, subway tile.
Yeah,
taking like a home in Waco that's always like filled with so much trash,
and filling it with
more trash,
and just filling it with so many lanterns and wagon wheel chandeliers
and baskets
and the
metal doors
and the chairs that have the skirts, like the wedding banquet hall chairs. Like every chair has to be in a dress. It's like there's burlap and shiplap and cream.
Shiplap is everywhere. Like, I mean, the memes about them.
And the books
the
turned
fake books
backwards, so you only see the pages.
They are just a charming couple, and she's straight as an arrow. And Chip is her crazy husband, who has all these crazy ideas.
I mean, they do not break the mold at all. I mean, all property renovations, maybe not the Property Brothers because they're creepy twin brothers, but like it's always a husband and wife.
Well, I would say they broke the mold and they were like the original husband-wife kooky guy.
They're the first people to get married.
They're literally the first people to get married in a church of God. Actually, not in a church. They didn't get married in church.
Yeah, they got married at a beautiful property.
I know. Let's get to their wedding for a second. When it's like they're being very Marriage or Mortgage, that Netflix show.
Wait, it literally is, because they were like, we got all this. They're always like, we had like $20,000 to our name, and I had $5,000 in a CD, but we had $7,000 in debt on a property that we were flipping while we were buying a second property.
And we were living in student housing, and we were expecting another check of $15,000, but that was going to go to our debts.
But so like his parents gave them money. They gave them money for the honeymoon, and then her parents were like, you can either spend money on a down payment on a house or a wedding or a honeymoon. They were like, well, the honeymoon's already taken care of.
And they were just being so straight in this way, where they were like, well, done, our honeymoon is taken care of. And they were like, well, we were already like sleeping in Chip's random rental homes for Baylor students, so the house was taken care of. And it's like, kind of.
Yeah.
It's just obviously she wanted her
normal
Texas wedding.
I kind of liked their justification for the normalness of it. Because she was just like, I went and I bought a dress off the rack for $500. Chip and all his best groomsmen.
They got rental tuxedos from
at the mall.
That is also, people love to talk about how they got their wedding dress like off the rack or just like at a little store. They're like, you know what? And I just...
Yeah, it's like you didn't go to Vera Wang
and get in Waco. They're like, so get this. So they get...
Have you seen my mom's wedding dress, by the way?
I feel like we've put it on.
Yeah. I feel like I put you in it maybe at one point.
And it's like totally 80s.
It's very...
Or is it more like hippie? No, it's like hip because your parents have been together for like 900
They are old. Yeah,
years.
It was the 60s. It was so yellowed. I don't know if it was yellowed from being old or like... But it has
piss.
these like... Yes, it was covered in cat piss.
It was very their first house.
It's on it. It has these like flowers that are like... You remember these little flower designs? It's almost looks like pixelated in that like cross stitch way where they're like little squares. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I can imagine it.
I guess you weren't like such a stitching bitch.
Well, I like did so. High school.
Of course, you made incredible skirts.
Yeah, I made incredible skirts, and I altered my t-shirts so that they like were really tight, like in the stomach area.
You know what I mean when people have like, I don't know, some like thing, like little like,
and it's like a square
needlepoint
and a
that
star.
says like, you know, bless this mess or whatever.
Which is very. I would say also it's like Joanna Gaines like invented home goods, like Good and Gather.
She invented Good and Gather, and just like home is where the family is. Family is where the God is. God is where the coffee is. Food is where the God is.
Or like even
and
just
chalkboards.
Yes, chalkboards.
But you say inventress, and this is what I'm wondering.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I was watching Fixer Upper last night, and I was like being so the you, and I was like, she fucking invented barn doors.
You're screaming it, and you're just like being like fucking chalkboard, bitch.
And then Chase was just like, okay, my mom was like doing lanterns and wagon wheels and like God bless this coffee like in 2004. So it's like I do think that like
there was God bless this coffee
the Midwestern like like anyone in the middle of the country moms like had discovered like
I guess like signs. I see what you mean. Like
lanterns and signs.
Right. I guess it's her specific taking the most rusted shutters.
Yeah.
With a barn door with subway tile.
Yeah, and being like it's subway tile plus the shuttered table.
You can Good and Gather together. And the subway tile, can I read a passage? Take subway tile, for example. Subway tile is the most basic, affordable product in the world. It's not a high-end type of material, but you go into any bakery that ever inspired you, maybe one in France, or you look behind the counters in some cool old restaurant. And what do you see on the walls? Subway tile. You look at old pictures of the New York subway system or delis and coffee shops from 100 years ago that just draw your eye and make you long for a simpler time. And there it is. Putting those tiles in a home just works for me. They'll never go out of style. They'll never seem dated. It's like, not true. And the more time I spent in that old house in Castle Heights, the more that notion sank in my heart and showed itself in my work.
Well, and because this is this part of this whole passage where she's just being like, I'm obsessed with the past, like I'm obsessed with nostalgia. Yeah. Like, where's the line where she's just like, we all crave a connection to something old because it reminds us of what we once were. Like, of something we could have been, mixing the old and the new, bringing our own sense of history into the home. I think there's something about things from the past that just calls to us, that triggers a kind of longing. Sometimes you look at a piece of furniture, an old clock, or a piece of artwork. You're just drawn to it. You think, why do I love that piece? Well, chances are because it reminds you of something. Something from history, something from childhood, maybe even something you lost. It's like, I mean, it's beautiful, it's poetic, but it also, this deep nostalgia that she has, it's twisted. Like, she has this, there's something quite conservative about it. There's something fetishistic.
So, by the way, for our listeners, this book is written in husband, wife, husband, wife, husband, wife.
But it's mostly wife, husband, wife.
And him just being like, and his typeface is just like less bold, and it will just him being like, "Oh, Joe," being like, "Every time I bought a house, she cried."
Well, what's interesting? Okay, so she has the serif. She has a bold serif. He has a non-bold sans serif. He has this kind of fat, like Helvetica, almost like I want to say like a bubble tea shop font, and she's being more like this refined font. Which is interesting.
Because he's the kookier.
Because he's kooky. But I feel like it's an interesting choice because this font choice to me is like a little bit more girly than I think that they were intending.
Probably. Well, let's also say it. Joanna majored or minored in journalism at Baylor University.
She was a communications major at Baylor.
Yeah. She also interned. I think this is really where the subway tile comes from. It's that she interned in New York City.
Yeah, for 48 hours.
Right. And then got too homesick. But she's always been like, I love New York City so much because you can walk around and go to delis and go to cafes.
Well, the part where she literally is me, because I was like, okay, so you majored in communications and then you interned in New York City.
For
Paul Lazan. It was just me interning at CNN. And she was just like, oh, I meant to look at my diary that I kept. But it was just me being like, I saw Anderson Cooper from across the room today.
No, you are so Joanna. She's being so notebook fresh. I'm going to become a journalist and I major in communications and I'm just quiet girl.
And she's like, I couldn't believe that just Baylor didn't have an internship program with any of the major media outlets in New York at that time. So it was a total reach that I would ever be accepted into an internship program. But I applied with all my spunk and vigor and they decided to take a chance on me.
A
small girl from a small town.
It's also so you where it's this whole book is about how they started their Magnolia empire, but I did feel halfway through we were still on her internship in this way.
Yeah, I mean, the Magnolia thing, it spirals at the end. It's very just and then the show happened, and then I was like, we're going to buy those silos, and now we have a store.
They are so horny for silos. Their first date, they go to a restaurant. Everything is so plantation in this way, where they're we went to a restaurant in a beautiful stately
manner. It's the South.
Yeah, South stuff.
And he's and it looked like it was right out of Gone with the Wind. And it's so pillars.
And so, first off, she's working at her dad's Firestone shop.
Yeah.
Okay. And everyone goes out and they're like, Jojo, there's a hot guy outside. His name is Hot John.
The meeting story is so, are you, the part with the shaved head? Are you gonna
get Yeah. So, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. A hot guy? Me? I'm just a communications minor at Baylor. And so she goes out and she starts, she gets so nervous. But then there's this guy with the shaved head who just starts talking to her.
Just starts talking to
her.
Just
chatting.
And when she talks about that, so I listened to the audiobook, by the way.
Same.
Huge reveal.
I did both. I'm buy for book.
I did not have this in the back of my Honda Fit for months, so I kind of was forced, as someone with non-book experience, to listen to the audiobook.
Well, and to reveal kind of the craziness of our process is I started reading it, and then I was at Target, and I was inside their massive section.
There's a Chip and Joanna section at Target.
Yes.
Oh, of
and
so
it's
many
kind of in the
pillows
center of the store. It's you enter, and it's just you are about to enter the Chip and Joanna section.
Wow.
And it's cuter than you'd imagine.
Huh. So it's not so many lanterns?
It's less good and gather.
Okay, but this is what... So I watched... Okay, I feel we're going on a lot of tangents right now, but let me just say, I agree. I do think that's true because I watched the very first episode of Fixer Upper, and then I watched an episode from the most recent season. Their aesthetic has softened a lot.
Yes.
And it has... And so this... Okay, and this is why I do think she's a hypocrite. Because she says in that whole thing about how Subway style is so timeless and like, I love classic things. And
Right.
I don't care what's trendy, but it's like, no, they have evolved their style to be what's trendy.
And also subway tile, like in 100 years, no, let's say 50 years, our grand nieces are gonna like walk into a kitchen that's subway tile and be like, oh, this is so like 2009 to 2020, and this grand niece is also so us, like seeing subway tile being like,
so
subway
2011,
tile.
and
Yeah.
it's so the Chip and Joanna Gaines episode of the Historic Celebrity Book Club podcast, and then
Can you believe what happened to them in the crash? We go down like the big bopper.
Okay, but so there will be subway tile, and then she is still doing that, but it's like the first episode, it's the most crazily crap-filled house, and there's like big red leather couch and the like skirted chairs and the like so many shutters and books and so many like the wall-mounted horns and then the big Roman numerals clock and then
yeah, the big Roman. What's also insane about this whole, it's like that's them usually just staging the entire house, and then obviously the people move in and they move that stuff out.
Yeah, but
then they give them there's a big part of the show, which is one of my favorites, is when like she finds like a rusted axe, and then they have to go to one of their local Waco makers.
a waker.
A waker, and they're like, he's been like stitching chairs for the Waco community for 50 years, so we're gonna surprise them with this bench axe.
And they're just like, we made an entry bench out of this wax that like isn't important to you, but like is
but
a
it is
beautiful
your grandfather's
piece of your story.
And I feel like they're taking out the skirted chairs, and then it's like after the staging is done, like all that furniture leaves, but then they get to keep
we get that one axe, and then those people are just getting like big weird leather chairs that are so office and kind of looking off.
Like more random Wayfair stuff.
But the reveals in the new episodes, like it is looking more like the Mormon design show. It's more just like all white, and like there's not as much shit in there, and it's like a little bit calmer.
Yeah, like the stuff. So the stuff in the Joanna section was just like big wooden salad bowls, like matte plates.
And there probably weren't even any good and gather signs.
No, there was no good and gather.
She's kind of done with signs.
She's realizing it's maybe a little more some speckled plates, like warm earth tone throw pillows. Some stuff that's like a little bit gold, but mostly it's in this kind of pine, cream, orange. Textures.
The soft textured natural fabric.
It's a little more like, instead of like going to maybe like a fancy home goods store, you're getting like the knockoff salad bowl or the knockoff like matte pink speckled plate.
Are there like books? Can you buy a whole thing of fake books?
No, you can just buy their books.
I mean, that part is so insane to me because it's like, what if books were like literally not even about pretending to read? What if book is literally just object? Like book is just paper.
Which I mean,
there's something honest about it.
It is honest, and her just being like, look, like these Waco folk, maybe they like are reading on their Kindle,
right?
Like, even though, I mean, this is a whole nother tangent. Chip and Joanna, no TV.
No TV.
No TV.
Wait, okay. Did you figure that? Because at the end of the audiobook, did you hear that part?
Yes,
the end
that
credits?
was insane.
And then there's this like weird like
conversation with their ghostwriter that's like definitely at the Magnolia Bakery, and the sound is so crazy and it sounds
hear, like,
documentary.
It's very dark, and you hear people like buying so many candles in the background, and they're talking about their premarital counselor / mentor
which is also in the book that they talk about.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
okay,
but they go more into it. So basically, like, this is so Christian and insane. They found like an older couple who they really trust and had pre-marriage counseling sessions with them.
I mean,
but also honestly, and not to be so Christian, but like I think that is a really good idea.
Yeah, no,
just
it's genius.
To get on the same page about values.
It was just so Christian the way she said it. Like it wasn't. She was just like, so we had our premarital counselor. Kind of like a mentor, really,
a marriage mentor.
And they suggested you go 6 months without TV. and make sure that you can really talk to each other and really
those
spend
conversations.
time. And I mean, that is a really good idea, because how many couples do you know this day and age who 3 weeks into a relationship are already just
Binging
like fully
9
bingy,
shows.
Grubhubbed, Netflixed out,
Yeah.
and just like have nothing to say to each other.
And then they think like there's a baseless relationship, but it's actually you just have someone to like watch TV with.
Exactly. So I do think that's a good idea that couples should try as a 6 month, and maybe everyone should get a marriage mentor.
Celebrity Book Club.
After watching many episodes of the show, and I'm curious what you got from just watching 2 eps, I do think they kind of like hate each other now, and it's so crazy in business, and like it's all smiles and like, because their whole thing on the camera is her eye rolling, being like, Chip, I'm gonna kill you. And I do wonder at this point, though, like, is she really going to kill him? And I heard it's rumored that there's one artisan she goes to that's featured heavily on the show that is her type, which she says quiet and brunette. Because Chip, she says, was not her type, talkative and like redheaded blonde.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that part's insane. And she was just like, I never thought my type was brown-haired guys who were steady and quiet.
Yeah. And he's like,
be more Baylor than just being like, I never thought I wouldn't date a guy who didn't have brown hair. It's like, what?
And he's like, and I thought I was going to date a cheerleader. And then like also they are doing this insane like straight Texas Christian thing.
You think she's fucking this random artisan?
So I've heard that she's like fucking this blacksmith. It could also be, an emotional affair.
Oh, yes, I know the
You're
kind.
familiar. Maybe there was a kiss. Like, I do still think, like, Chip and Joanna, like, do fuck.
Well, I mean,
like their
it's a classic thing where she's always just being like, I loved how he just makes decisions and is the brawn and the muscle. And it's always just thing where you're like, he's the man, he's the top. Like, he's he's doing things. He's like a chaotic top. Like,
and he's always buying,
really
like, goats and
late
kittens.
to their first date. And like, but somehow he was charming, and like her and like her friends were just like crying and trying on dresses, being like, "Why is he so late?" And then he shows up, and she was like, "And within 5 minutes, he had charmed the pants off."
Somehow he had charmed me, and it's like, okay, simmer. I was obsessed with their proposal.
The proposal, yeah.
He brings her to his hometown mall, lights off.
And then she's like, where are we going? And then he gets on one knee. I think he must have dropped something. And then he proposes. And then she's like, why are we in this hallway? And then he opens the door to the hallway, and they're in a jeweler's.
I feel like they are in like a closed down, like.
It did sound very Framingham, like strip mall.
Yeah, smaller strip mall.
Yeah.
So, right, it's like this closed down jeweler's, and he's like, pick something. And then like they talk back to each other, like, pick something like that's worth $80. And so she picks out a ring, and then obviously like their whole family's waiting for them, and they celebrate.
Then there's yet another like door at the other side of the jewelers, and there's like another section of the strip mall, and then her whole family's there.
And so much celebration. And then like on their 12th anniversary, like they invite the jeweler to one of their silos / home renovation projects, and he comes like with diamonds.
Right, with this like full like velvet pillow full of diamonds, because he's like, I'm finally gonna give you a bigger diamond. And I got there, and he was waiting on our porch, and I said, no, Jim, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna make the sale today, because the diamond I got from Chip on our proposal is perfect just the way it is.
I don't need a new diamond.
And very much like every other Christian book we read, it's like everything is a sign, everything is something that's meant to be.
Okay, yeah, let's get
everything
into
is the way it should be.
So there's Magnolia Shop, and then there's Magnolia Homes. And Magnolia Shop is like her shop of like redone baskets and axes and sleighs. And she gets a sign from God that says open a store. So she opens it.
Yeah.
And then at one point,
well, it's actually a voice. Remember? And it's the same voice that tells her Chip is the guy she's going to marry. And it's also the same voice that later tells her it's time to close the store. And the same voice that later tells her it's actually time to reopen your store.
It's like, huh.
This voice is really obsessed with your store.
Yeah, it's really, I listen to the little voices in my head.
But it's just like, and I'm sorry, but like I'm calling bullshit. It's like it's so easy to say retroactively look at just like a big turning point in your life and be like, a voice told me to do this. It's just like,
do you mean when people say a voice, it's like you mean your thoughts? Like, yeah, I hear a voice in my head too. It's like thinking. Sorry.
No, I know. I mean,
think much.
Literally think much. No, it's like the equivalent of like ADHD people just being like, you know, you have ADHD when you're like thinking about a movie you want to watch while you're at the doctor's, and it's just like that's a thought.
That is a thought.
That's
and you're like,
called thinking.
And then you check your phone, and then you start eating, and you're like, again, the body.
A couple of things that I wanted to get into. I felt like this was also yet another example of straight people like not knowing each other.
Really?
Well,
because they don't have a TV, and I thought we just talked about how they talk all night.
I know, but
they actually, say your piece.
But because the moment that made me think was when they're at their wedding, and she was just like, not that they don't know each other, but that they just like don't have anything in common. That they're just like so random.
That's what they say the whole time, which is why they're so horny.
Because she was just like, and at our wedding, like. He had a set of twins in his party, and God. I had a set of twins in my bridal party.
Oh, yeah. And she was like, isn't that a sign that we're we actually have the same values?
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
You're like, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's interesting, but it's just like, it's just like so random to be like, I didn't like meet anyone that he knew until the wedding.
Yeah. It's
and then
also,
like B, that you think that is like so reflective of your personality that you both happen to know twins.
Yes, I fully agree with that where it's like they haven't met each other's friends, or they have, and just like a more like passing way. And she's like, hey, buddy, old G, and is waving to them. And then they like, go their separate ways. It's also so straight to think actually that they're so different. She's like, we were so different. Chip was from this town in Texas, and I was actually from a little bit more of a suburban town in Texas.
I usually date guys who are brunettes, and Chip kind of has red hair.
My dad was a little higher up at Firestone, and his parents were like a little bit poorer. And you're kind of like...
But then his dad did get that really high-paying job working for...
American Airlines?
Yeah, in Dallas.
And you're kind of like, okay.
We are acing the pop quiz on this book.
Yeah, like, I'm sure, like, that town is really different. I know Texas is a really big state. And again, if you are from Waco, call me out for being Framingham is obviously a lot different than Somerville. If we were to get into town stuff. But it's like...
But I wouldn't be just like, we're so different.
Right.
He's from Somerville. And yet we're also really
different. And you're always being so Joanna, just being like, it's so crazy.
I mean, again, who are you in this book? I'm Joanna.
Yeah,
I got
you're
it.
Joanna.
Okay, back to them, to their values, though, and what small towns they're from. I do feel like, okay, they're both obviously so farm-pilled, and like she's so farm-pilled, and like they buy that farm later that they redo, and around the same time that they're getting the TV show, and then the whole Magnolia aesthetic is like the silos and all the barn doors and like barn.
Like they talk about how on their honeymoon, which by the way was a road trip from New York City to Maine.
And they were like just driving around upstate without Google Maps.
How fab is that?
No,
and then they went to Maine. And then
really fun.
Did you note that part though? They realized that they were kind of done with their road trip when they got to Boston. They're like, okay, we're out of money and like
the charm is done.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All honeymoons end in Boston.
Imagine.
So I feel like I'm calling it's suburban cottagcore. Because it's like she says
she's suburban, and like she's horny for silos in her childhood.
Yeah.
Because friends go to her house and are like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then she goes to her farm friend's house. And she's like, let's play in the silos.
So it's like she is just kind of like every like cottagecore girl who's like
nap dress.
So nap dress.
I saw so many nap dresses, and we will get into that in the VIP lounge. But
in Southampton.
Yeah.
But she's just like the Texas suburban version of that. Like she doesn't actually have this like farm background other than like knowing people who've had farms and seen farms and been like,
right. So they are totally different. And Chip is like, does have a lawn irrigation business and like buying random houses in Waco and turning them into Baylor student housing.
Yeah. I mean, he's been more of like a...
He was already flipping.
He was flipping and being more of a kind of just like real like town developer, like buying up like big parcels of land and like thinking of himself in more of the kind of like, I'm going to remake this town's image kind of way.
Right. And being a little more revitalizing downtown. And like
being so like, and because he was like, she's always talking about like how proud he was to like make friends with all the local kids. And we all gave the local kids jobs like cleaning up the shop. And he would drive his tractor around and with the dogs and know everyone in the town. And like, you know, he was the mayor of 3rd Street.
Yeah. And she's being very like the golden rule, like Chip. He may be crazy.
Yeah.
But he is the golden rule. Like, he gives a homeless guy, like, a job when we were all sketched.
Yeah. Basically, like, she's always just being like, I was really sketched by, like, random homeless people and just, like, teens in Waco. And he was nice to them and talked to everyone the same way.
Single one. So the first place they redo together, like, she was just going to work her way up at Firestone. Like, she didn't know. But then she started sketching. And he was like, damn, Chippity Joe. You got some good sketches. And then she gets more into it. And I remember in one of their first renovations, they're like putting in grout and he paints the grout maroon. Do you remember that part?
In the book?
Yeah, in the book. He paints the grout maroon and she like flips out at him and starts like screaming at him.
I mean, that's the worst.
How ugly is it? No.
So it's like paint it so it looks like it's rusted and dirty.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And...
the grout maroon. What color are the tile?
I think it was white tile maroon grout.
Scary.
Yeah. And
that's so straight guy.
She flipped out.
As she should. And
he started over because that, I'll say it, in this Christian household, that pussy is too good.
Yeah. No, that that pussy be slapping, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, when I think about other design couples and like the Tarek and Christina, whatever, like all the guys are usually a lot more toxic.
Right.
Like he's kind of non-toxic in this way.
No, like he is pretty like slap happy and kind of like obsessed with her and like is always showing up with like 30 bunnies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's buying stuff, but...
Wait, can I read you this one quote?
Yeah.
Gaines revealed in a blog that she isn't Native American, like some viewers had speculated. I love hearing all the guesses about my ethnicity. Although I did play Pocahontas in high school,
Stop.
I'm not Native American. My father is Lebanese, half German, and my mother is full Korean. But it's like...
I love hearing guesses.
I love hearing guesses, and I did play Pocahontas. But I do feel like she is... I feel like she's definitely kind of rolling with the slight Native American thing a little bit.
Yeah, she'd accept because they are in like Waco, so she'll be like will use like a textile.
And her style in the show, she's always wearing like leather feather earrings and like a subtle like a turquoise accent, very just like
which is Texas style.
Which is Texas, but I feel like she's like doing it just enough to be like, and if you think I'm Native American,
I'll go, yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna roll with it.
Just in the kind of that like when J-Lo's like, if you think I'm playing Italian right now, or if you think I'm Chilean.
Yeah, or the Ariana Grande, just like she's Latina if you need her to
if
be.
you need her to be at this moment.
Okay, wait, let's
do some spoken word.
Let's do some spoken word. So this is going to be a new, maybe one-time segment, but maybe we'll do
a segment when we want to do it.
Yeah, okay, I love that.
Okay, no rules.
No rules segment. That you maybe remember from our live Eleanor Roosevelt episode.
New York City.
But we're going to read the notes that we prepared for the book as spoken word. Please welcome to the stage at New York-Rican Poets Cafe for the first time, 7-time winner of the Edgar Allan Jean Award, 2-time recipient of the D'Agostino Prize. Please welcome Poet Laureate of Ditmas Park, Lily Murata.
Moose. Their first date at the big steakhouse. Going broke in Boston. I wasn't into redheads. Chip is crazy behind a mouse. Marriage or mortgage. They really spent their whole honeymoon going to see Barnes. The Drake honeymoon. Love how the first half is about her internship. Page 44. I love broadcast media. I've been praying about giving you the store. TFW, you find a wicker sleigh. Maroon grout. no TV, marriage counseling. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. I know, but I prayed about as I said, as I prayed about it. The way we love HGTV. Our big sheet came from the heart. Be hornier for silos. Chip and producer came up with the sheet. Stop editing yourself. Chip quoting the Bible again. 116 subway tile. She's always listening. No TV. Marriage counseling.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you very much. I would like to introduce man who taught me poetry when I was nothing. He gave me $5 for butter on a roll at a bodega and a hot coffee black with 3 sugars. Welcome to the stage, Stephen Phillips Horst.
Baylor. Comms major. Their kids' names. I'm staying in Waco until God makes it clear it's time to move on. He shaved his head to support his friend with cancer. Leaves his keys in the car, so me, the proposal. Straight people do not know each other. We both had twins in our wedding party. My dad worked his way up the corporate ladder at Firestone. She's sort of farm-pilled. They're both a bit farm, dolezal, suburban cottagcore. Okay, she's me, interning at 48 hours. This arrest, is that what makes you a cab? I married someone with a lawn irrigation business, half Korean, her race. People think that saying you know when your parents say they're disappointed is their unique observation. Her classic design philosophy, old is beautiful, subway tile is timeless, the hypocrisy, strict parents. People don't like to shop at a mall with only one store or eat at a food court with only one restaurant. You can't chase the Pinterest fantasy. You can't wait for things to be perfect to be happy. You have to find the joy in spilled milk. 6 months without a TV, their premarital counselor.
I'm speechless.
Self-chills.
Insane obsessed that both of our last things were
with the marriage counselor.
Celebrity Book Club.
Get ready to see your segments. What does she wear?
How does she live?
What does she eat?
What does she wear? Well, they're both always like in Magnolia Farm trucker hats.
Yeah.
And like he is in a Heathered Magnolia Farms t-shirt and like, but he wears like flared cowboy jeans. Like he wears Wranglers that are flared.
Yeah.
In the bootcut way.
This comes back to her being like suburban cottagecore, like so bone app. Like I feel like she's wearing such a like denim coverall.
Yes, she's all because it shows that she's like doing work.
I do work, but I like don't leave the store kind of vibes.
And that, my
like,
favorite part of the show is when she like sends Chip and the kids away for her to do her classic Joe final touches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she's like, she just needs to be. Also, that was so me. I just like was really related to her. Just being like, you need to leave so that I can like move a candle around a mantle alone
for 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
And then people come back and are like, what? And of course she's like, it's crazy in here. Chip, take the kids. And he's like, all right, kiddos. Like, who wants to go eat goat milk?
Yeah.
And she's in her denim coveralls, like with, the 2 candles, placing them in chandeliers. And all obviously like a full another team comes in and like does stuff. But like, how does she eat? If we, to transition, watched her new like cooking show, which is like actually feels like you are an alien. It's like so weird and it's so random because like she's not, obviously they need to fill like hours on their network and people just love anything she does, but it's just like, we don't need a cooking show from you. And she's making a Coca-Cola sheet pancake.
Okay.
And you're like, it's literally the most basic thing I've ever seen. She's literally just like, oh, no, this is so good to like whip up for friends or whatever. It's just a sheet of chocolate cake.
Did you pour Coke on?
That she like puts Coke in the batter and then she just like started spreading chocolate frosting on it.
That sounds kind of good. as I sip my DC over here.
You're like,
I'd love maybe a DC cake.
And yeah, her affect was just so boring in it. I feel like without the
So this comes
back
back to your
and
theory
forth.
that like there's no love left in the marriage and she's fucking
Well,
this
no,
blacksmith.
actually, I was saying like he's not there, and it's a little just like stagnant.
How do they live? I mean, yeah, I think we know their interior style.
Right. Though they do
the
like,
shiplap.
I feel like just until recently, like they stopped. They like literally are always still like being so Ellen DeGeneres and like buying a home, moving out of it, redoing it, buying a shop, moving it out
I'm
of
so
it.
glad you said that. I had the same exact thought reading this.
And I was like, relax.
They're always renovating a house. And yet, then I also thought, I had a thought. I had a thought.
You had a thought. So you were listening to one of the voices in your head.
The voice is Joanna Gaines. And I was like, it reminded me so much of Ellen, how the second that they finish renovating a house, they just have to buy another house and move into it and reno that one.
Go, go, go.
But he had, they have this sort of philosophical point at the end of the book where he's like, if you're comfortable, like, that's for when you retire. If you're comfortable, like, then you're not actually happy. And I had this in my notes where she's like, I realized at some point that you can't chase the Pinterest fantasy. You can't wait for things to be perfect to be happy. Because what happens then is, so imagine, you have this fantasy in your head, you finish it. You finish the reno, then you're sitting on your couch and you're like, whoa,
what do I do?
What do I do? You know what I mean? And so, in fact, you do have to always be renovating and you have to always be happy. You have to find the joy in the spilled milk and be like, in the process, I'm happy right now. But I think that inevitably leads you to be like, well, I always have to be like working on something new and working towards something.
Well, I feel like I came to this, it's this class thing where you like, you're making something, you're like, oh, I'm going to be so happy when it like comes out and they like post it on Instagram.
Exactly.
And then you post it and it's like, actually that day is hell and you're refreshing likes and you're like, it was actually fun? Making it.
Or, what? For me, it's like there's a moment in between. It's when you finish it, when you're like proud that you've done something.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, it's like when something happens, then it's gone and it's in the past and it's over. And you're just like, okay.
But after I finished the audiobook, I was
yeah.
listening to her on like a podcast called like Good and Gather. And it was like, we talk with Gaines about like ramen. And she was talking about...
You've done so much research for this episode.
Well... I've been doing the work, I guess, for the past few years. This has been long game. And then I was like, well, when I'm on the train, I'll listen to this random podcast. And she was talking about how like they did step back when they started the network. And she was like, I want to give to other people. And she was like, and then I realized we did miss Fixer Upper a little, but I needed that space to go back to it.
Okay.
Who are you in the book? Obviously, you're Joanna.
I don't think you're Chip.
No.
You're not that impulsive.
No. Like, I do think maybe, like, in my relationship, I'm, like, more of the Chip who's, like, but I'm really not that impulsive in, like, buying a houseboat and, like, putting $20,000 down. I do like to carry a lot of cash. But, yeah, I would, like, never just, like, buy, like, a goat or a boat that doesn't work. And I'm just not like that crazy.
I feel like, are you her friend at Firestone who's just being like, oh my God, you have to call Hot Jim. Hot John.
Definitely friend at Firestone.
You're Donna at Firestone.
Firestone Waco. I still work there, but I've risen up.
You're like, I'm actually now assistant general manager of the whole front showroom.
And Joanna's like, I'm so proud. And I send people to Donna all the time, okay?
And it makes me feel my heart so full that I can send people to Donna and then I can give her that business and support her in the way she supported me over the years.
It's so beautiful.
All right. I give this book, 2 out of 5 raw iron lanterns.
In the beginning of the book, it was like being more random and like Chip is crazy when he gets behind the mouse and starts clicking away at online shopping.
Yeah.
And like I loved that part, but then it gets like a little just like carry the two and you're like, and then we borrowed 10,000 and 12,000 and like
I mean, they're boring. Sorry. And it's just like nothing really happens in this book. And like, I do love every time she's saying that just like, I never thought I'd marry like the owner of a lawn irrigation business. Or like when she says that she was a communications major at Baylor and like every Baylor mention is funny. But I'm just like, there's not enough happening in this book. Sorry.
No,
and
I'd rather just like watch the show.
And it's like, and we know that there's all this like other drama with the whole Magnolia Network and like all of that other show. There's like that other couple that want to be Chip and Joanna that scammed all those couples that they co-signed
right, and
off
then they
of.
were like responsible for, and then they were like, we have nothing to do with them, and then they got in all all that drama because
And
they're part of like such a scary Hillsong new evangelical
Right.
church.
And
And Joanna was like, I would never be against someone in the LGBT community. Never. Absolutely not. And it's like their pastor was like, God hates fags.
And it's like, yeah, it's like I do want to hear. I don't know. I mean, I don't need to hear so much about that, but it's like there's obviously a lot more going on that they're not revealing. And it's like after reading Mike Lindell's book that was so full of drama.
Well, that's
I
Mike
would have
Lindell. He's
appreciated.
completely
He's
insane.
insane,
They're
yeah.
like literally have a network and like run a business. Okay, Joanna Gaines like runs a business. She's not going to
So
show
does
you all
Mike
her
Lindell.
cards.
Like he and his business
Look!
is probably more successful.
Then Magnolia
I bet My Pillow has more revenue than Magnolia.
revenue, but if we're talking PR, like how they look out to the world, like the entire town of Waco, like
Last time I checked, a business is successful based on revenue.
last time I checked, their power in the culture, Joanna and Chip have way more power than Mike Lindell.
I mean, Mike Lindell is like a surrogate for presidential candidates. I mean,
Cultural capital. Not everyone knows who Mike Lindell is. Everyone knows who Joanna Gaines is.
Yes and no.
I
bet
think yes.
I bet if you Us Weekly asked 100 people in Times Square who Joanna. Oh, I bet, okay. People in Times Square would definitely know.
Yes.
They would definitely know who My Pillow and
we're gonna do this poll.
Magnolia Story is.
Anyway, it's
But
random to compare those books.
Because they're both like business owners, like from small
I'm just saying-
towns who like
Absolutely. I'm just saying, like, in what world
are
would
taking out like so many loans. It's like
would
they're-
Joanna
and
Gaines
are
book
God
be
fearing.
similar? She's gonna like start the page just being like, "Yeah, Chip fucks me in the ass every single day."
Yeah, I mean, then I'd be a little more
no,
interested.
yeah, that would be awesome if she wrote that. I guess I'm just like not expecting that because I'm a realist.
Yeah, you're kind of waiting and then nothing really happens.
So yeah, we'll see what happens when they divorce and she talks about how she sleeps with the like blacksmith.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. All right, well, that's all for now.
We'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
We'll see you on Friday for the VIP lounge. If you haven't subscribed, go to
Buy
patreon.com.
our Chicago tickets.
Oh, please buy tickets to our
Chicagoans.
Chicago show on October 7th. You do not want to miss it.
Sleeping Village. Things are going to get crazy.
Yeah, buy your tickets now. Best.
Celebrity Book Club is presented by this little old barn Prolo Projects. The show is produced by Benjamin Frisch, who makes amazing windmills, with editorial support from Leon Nafok, Andrew Parsons, and Arlene Arevalo, and Madeline Kaplan. They run, the four of them, they just run this cute little restaurant serving Christian food. Our production manager is Persia Verlin. We worked at Firestone together, and she's still there in heart, but has passed. Our intern is Noah John. He runs a goat farm. I just bought 10 of his goats. I took all of his goats. Original theme song by Stephen Phillips Horse. We went to Baylor together. Artwork by Teddy Blanks at Chips NY. That's Chip's brother. He's hilarious, and I set him up with his wife. They're a beautiful couple. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CBC The Pod. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about us or visit us at Celebrity Book Club Farms. And don't forget to go to patreon.com for access to the VIP lounge where our exclusive podcast is. It's a bonus, and there's recipes. Have a great day.